They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz Podcast.
Welcome into the program, everyone. I am Lou Ruggieri. That is Jose Ortiz. And this is the Benchwarmerz Podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be listening, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. We are going to make it worth your while. This is Season 2, Episode number 20. And we are excited. Football is back. Week 1 is here. You can go and listen to all of our previews and predictions, even though some of our predictions were not good for last week, but it's Week 1. We'll get to that in a minute. iHeartRadio podcasting, Amazon podcast. We are on the newly formed Anchor. We're back on Google Podcasts. We're proud to announce that we're actually on an app called Radio Public and Breaker.audio. So slowly creeping up in the platform world, the Benchwarmerz Podcast. So go find us there, subscribe, rate, review, all of those fun things. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at the Benchwarmerz Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or go to thebenchwarmers.com for all things show related. And this show is going to all be related to football because that's what's back, and we're excited. We're resurrecting our fun segment, Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, which is essentially our version of True False. We're going to make some statements, and it's either going to be make no mistake, that's absolutely true, or give me a break. That's ridiculous. Come on. Some extra point. We're going to go around the NFL, every NFL game. We're going to have a quick little thought on each game, so we touch on everything, so don't feel like your team is going to be left out, because it won't be. Some injury news and notes coming up. And to start the show, to almost start the show, we're going to talk about the top 3 storylines in the NFL for this Week 1. But first, over the weekend, it was the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And I know that we're kind of high on life with NFL being back. But, you know, September 11th, the 20th anniversary, it did seem kind of appropriate to at least touch on that. And, you know, just thinking about it, Jose, first of all, I can't believe it was 20 years already. That's crazy. And the other thing that kind of stuck in my head was I remember when I was in middle school, maybe, I interviewed my grandfather for my history class. And I remember asking him about where he was on D-Day, you know, December 7th. And immediately, and this is, you know, he was in his 80s at this point. And without even a moment's hesitation, he told me where he was, what he was doing. He knew exactly what was happening. He was everything about anything, all this little details of that day. And it never made sense to me until September 11th happened. And to this day, I mean, you could ask me what I had for lunch yesterday, and I barely remember. But 20 years ago, I remember it was a Tuesday morning. I remember it was a gorgeous day. I remember I was in a dorm room, and my roommate came in and smacked me on the head, woke me up, and said they're bombing the World Trade Center. And I was like, what are you, crazy? Like, shut up! I was trying to sleep. No. And he gets up and he goes and turn on the TV, and you know, I remember the TV being on, and the first tower was smoking, and I saw the second one collapse on television, and it just, I mean, it's burned into my memory banks forever. I don't know. I assume you know where you were, right?
Yeah, I was at Montclair State University. I was in college. I was on campus. I was going to classes and things like that. I was living on campus at the time, and you know, you're early in class, and then you kind of just start. You know, it's weird that, you know, there's no iPhone, there's no phones, or, you know, there were phones, but it just wasn't the same.
No.
The instant information era that we live in now, it just wasn't like that. And so, you know, you just start kind of getting word, and you're seeing it on TV. You know, you're seeing the smoke, and basically by the time like 9:30 in the morning happened, basically classes were canceled, and you're just there watching TV and waiting for it to to see what happens next. And then I remember when the towers fell, when I was watching on TV, it just felt like unbelievable. Like, how could this even happen? How is this possible? You know, you just never thought it would happen. And then when they both fell, I think I went to the bathroom at one point and then came out and the other one had fallen. It was just,
jeez. Yeah, I remember I actually had to work that night. I was a waiter at some crappy restaurant in Montclair at the time, and I called my job at that afternoon. I was like, "So we're closed, right?" And they're like, "Well, no, we're open. We're open." I was like, why are we open? Like, why? What do you? Okay. And, I was too young and naive to not be able to stand up for myself and go, no, get out of here. And I had to go to work. And my family actually came and sat, with me for a while. And I think the only party I had, it was this group of it was a corporate restaurant, and there was a corporate management meeting. And these guys they're all sitting around this big table, and I had them, and they're just laughing and blah, blah. And one of them had the audacity to say, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And I looked, and I was, it was 19, and I yelled at them. I was like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, have you not seen anything that happened today? I was like, you guys are sitting here laughing, and how many people just died? Like, come on. And all of a sudden they got real quiet, and then they finished up and left. But obviously I think they kind of figured out I was right. So just crazy to think 20 years ago. And, it's still unbelievable, like you said. So just wanted to touch on that. It just felt kind of appropriate for the 20th anniversary, which we will never forget. I mean, that's kind of the theme. So the Patriots, I always thought it was pretty fitting that the Patriots won the Super Bowl that year. It just seemed kind of right in a weird way. I know a lot of people are Patriot haters, but that seemed like the right time for them to show up. In any event, move on. The top 3 storylines in this week, not necessarily the Patriots are involved in the top 3 stories, but some other very surprising teams. I think the biggest surprise of the weekend is, there's a debate here, but I don't think it's a very good one. I've seen people saying Pittsburgh over Buffalo, but I think the Saints just smacking the Packers around. And before this game, if I had told you Saints-Packers, one of these quarterbacks is going to throw for 5 touchdowns and the other one is going to throw for 2 interceptions, you would not have guessed it was going to be Jameis Winston throwing for 5 touchdowns and Aaron Rodgers throwing for 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns.
I would have literally put $1,000. Yes. It's just whatever. It's hey babe, it's a lock. We're putting $1,000 on Aaron Rodgers getting 5 touchdowns here. It was.
What happened?
I don't know. I watched the game. I'm looking at the numbers. I want to give some credit to the Saints, right? I think that there's a narrative that was in my head anyway, that the Saints were going to take a step back this year, that they weren't going to be as good as they were last season, that the loss of Drew Brees, even, not necessarily elite level Drew Brees, but still a very efficient, above average quarterback, Drew Brees, wasn't going to be the same. And they looked efficient. Their defense was unbelievable. Jameis Winston was not losing. He was throwing 5 touchdown passes. They looked unstoppable. They looked like one of the best teams in the NFL, honestly. And so I want to give some credit to the Saints for just looking better than I think anyone expected outside of that locker room. But man, I just can't remember the last time I saw Rodgers look so bad. It looked so bad. It's been. I'm gonna touch on that in just a second. But yeah, the couple things I took away from this too were Jameis Winston was making good decisions. Yeah, he was very efficient. I think he had the most efficient game in history because he only had 14 completions and 5 of them were for touchdowns. That might be the best game he's ever played in his life. At least in NFL. He has 130.8 rating, and he looked. He wasn't known as a mobile quarterback, but compared to a 41-year-old Drew Brees, he looked pretty quick out there, making good decisions. His arm strength, I think there's no question that he's got a stronger arm than Drew Brees did last year. And obviously, Drew Brees was injured a lot of the time, but the tutelage of Brees and Sean Payton definitely looked like it paid off. Without jumping to any sort of giant conclusions, but the weapons, and keep in mind, Michael Thomas isn't even there. Yeah. And that's what was crazy. Alvin Kamara looked good. Tony Jones, their new backup, looked pretty good. And conversely, you said Aaron Rodgers looked bad. I think Aaron Rodgers, he looked old to me. Did you see him in the post game? He looked so ugly and disheveled too. Yeah, just get a haircut, man. If you look at him and you look at Tom Brady, okay, and you said one of these guys is going to be 40 pretty soon, and one of these guys is going to be 50 pretty soon. I would not think that it was the way it was, because Rodgers, I don't know, he just looked kind of decrepit and like he had just gotten out of off a Harley Davidson in a trailer somewhere. Rodgers looked like he did 2 years ago. Last year he had the MVP season, and we all, I guess I guess he's not done. I guess it's not over. Literally before last season, I was debating you whether I'd rather have Dak Prescott or Aaron Rodgers as my starting quarterback. And at the end of last year, I felt ridiculous saying that even having that discussion. Yet here we are at the end of week 1, and I'm not sure what to expect from Aaron Rodgers going forward. You have to hope it was, listen, you get to play the Lions next week, so it's pretty good medicine. But
a good get-right game, yeah. Maybe. The Lions didn't look bad either. But I will say that props to Marshawn Lattimore, because he does not get enough credit. He shut down Devontae Adams like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, Devontae Adams, he did 5 receptions, but for 56 yards and no touchdowns. I mean, that's shutting him down. That's shutting who was easily the best receiver in the league last year, or arguably, I guess you can make a case for Stephon Diggs maybe, but still, Marshawn Lattimore put the screws to him, and that was it. So good for them, and I'm excited. I find myself kind of weirdly rooting for Jameis Winston. Like I want him to do well. I think he's done the right things. He's kind of been humbled. He went to his division rival to learn, and he said, it's like getting a graduate degree in quarterbacking. And I'm hoping they do well. I really do. I'd like to see a good comeback story. Speaking of comeback stories, the next top storyline in the league is my dude Matt Stafford. And wow, I mean, I'm not a Rams fan. I'm happy. I was yelling at the television yesterday. I was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy! Your first pass on the new team is a touchdown." And Stafford, I thought Stafford looked unbelievable. He had 321 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was 20 of 26. The Rams came out and the Bears, their offense isn't great, but their defense is pretty good, and the Rams just made them look silly.
Yeah, I almost forgot. Like I know that Stafford's a great quarterback and everything like that, but like it was just a reminder of just how good, how a player being in the right situation, right system can really unlock it. He just looked so comfortable in that offense. It really looked like they barely scratched the surface of what they can do. There was a really highly functioning offense. The defense looked great too. Nothing but amazing things to say about this team. If I'm another team in the NFL, I am very afraid right now because the Rams look about as legit as you can look heading into week 2.
And Stafford, I mean, I've been a Stafford fan forever. I mean, I've always been a fan of his talent. I've always, he was like my fantasy sleeper quarterback for 5 years in a row because, but it felt to see him on the Rams now, it feels like what I thought Calvin Johnson should have done back, before he retired, is like get traded to the Patriots or someplace where he can win, or Barry Sanders going to, I don't know, the Packers or the Cowboys or something, where just get him in a situation where he can use his talent to be successful. And, no offense to the Lions, but I mean, the Lions just have a history of dysfunctionality, and Stafford put in his time. He, it's almost like the Kevin Garnett feel, where it's like, all right, man, you put up numbers, you did your best, you tried, you put in your time, and I feel like even Lions fans can't be mad about it. It's like, all right, well, yeah, go win, man. You've earned it.
I mean, I guess they can be mad when they look at the Rams, where the Rams were a few years ago. They weren't always this amazing, this highly successful team. And you look, Sean McVay came in and kind of turned this franchise around, and the Lions have just been stuck in place for decades now, it feels like. So,
yeah. So the Rams beat Chicago Bears 34-14. The last top storyline, I think, it's sort of a culmination of storylines, and a couple of these we're going to touch more on in our next segment, Extra Point, where we go through all the games, but a little more in depth. There was a bunch of statement wins over this week 1, and we've been debating kind of before the show about a couple of them, but I think the Pittsburgh over Buffalo was a statement win. I think Philly over Atlanta, and especially the way they won, was a statement win.
Absolutely.
The Cardinals over the Titans. I thought the Texans over the Jags was a statement. I'm not sure what the statement was, and then the last one was the Chiefs over the Browns, which I thought it was a statement win by the Chiefs, but you disagreed very, very passionately.
Yeah, it actually got me thinking about like we kind of how in sports we throw these terms around like statement win or whatever. Like it's very like not really a clearly defined term.
Yeah.
But to me, the Steelers, both of us expected the Bills to win, and I'm not sure that we expected it to be very close. And I think that's the statement's made, like, oh, wait a minute, are the Steelers actually going to be good this year? And then the Texans, the statement they made is, hey, maybe we're not the worst team in the NFL, like you guys have been saying all offseason, like everyone in the world has been saying all offseason. And the Cardinals, I feel like the Titans made more of a statement by just looking so bad. But the Cardinals, listen, this is a team that you and I both picked to finish last in the NFC West. Yeah. And they looked amazing.
I was not counting on Chandler Jones having a career day in week one with 5 sacks.
And I know we're talking about the teams that made statements, but you look at the Titans, and I feel like one of the reasons I've been unwilling to fully buy in on them is just it's what we saw. If they don't get Derrick Henry going, it just feels like the passing game is not enough. It's not enough to
I think
do damage.
In that game specifically, though, I think the Titans. Ryan Tannehill had no chance. He was running for his life. He was getting eaten alive by Chandler Jones, and they never had a chance. He never had enough time to even look down the field. It was.
But if you can't run the ball, that's what happens.
Yeah, it's just chicken or the egg for sure. That is they're a run first team, and when you find yourself down. Were they down 24-6 at halftime? You're not running the ball too much. So I thought so did the Cardinals look that good or the Titans look that bad?
No, the Cardinals look that good. The Cardinals just, my goodness, Kyler Murray. Like, can you keep this up for 17 games? Can you?
He passed for 4 touchdowns. He ran for another one.
He just looks unstoppable. Like, if you're going to give him protection and his receivers are going to be open and their defense is going to play like that, the Cardinals are going to be a problem this season. And there's a lot of teams in the NFC that kind of popped up. Like, I know we're going to get into it more in the other later sections, but the Seahawks looked pretty good this past week.
The entire NFC West 4-0.
Yeah. And as far as just really quickly, as far as the Chiefs, the statement win or whatever, it's not a statement. I guess to me, I think they just held serve. That like they did what they were supposed to do. This is a game. They're at home. This is a game they're supposed to win, and they won. Honestly, the statement might be that our defense needs to our defense needs to improve. I never at any point expected the Browns to win that game because the Browns don't have the ability to deliver a knockout blow to the Chiefs, and it's not really as much of a knock against the Browns as it is a compliment to the Chiefs. The 49ers dealt with this 2 years ago, where you have to deliver the knockout blow. You can't be up by 9 points and think that's enough. You've got to go up by 20, 30 points. You have to deliver a knockout blow, and the Browns just didn't do it.
Yeah, I think the Pittsburgh over Buffalo was interesting. Pittsburgh's defense is legit. That's a Super Bowl caliber defense. And they kept an almost unstoppable Josh Allen from last year in check pretty handily. I thought Philly over Atlanta was really interesting, and that to me, I was surprised that I wasn't. I was a Jalen Hurts fan, going back to the draft, and Devontae Smith. I thought Devontae Smith. He looked good. He had 6 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. He was pretty good. Jalen Hurts 3 touchdowns. And the Falcons, I don't know what happened to the Falcons.
Oh, my gosh.
But remember, Kyle, who was more upset this week? Was it Julio Jones or the Falcons when they looked across and they're like, oh, man, maybe we messed something up here? How do you score 6 points against the Eagles? Brandon Graham is good, I guess, but they don't have like an all-world defense on the Eagles. The Falcons should be Calvin Ridley. Russell Gage was pretty good last year. Kyle Pitts, nothing. Matt Ryan, MVP.
That's really the name to me. You look at Matt Ryan, man. It just you gotta maybe because Matt Ryan has earned it. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they're not in the same class, but maybe you give them the benefit of the doubt. The 1 week, hey, it was just a bad first week, but wow, Matt Ryan just looked done. He looked done. He looked like. We're looking at the end of his career. 21 of 35, 164 yards passing, no touchdowns. Like that's Jose Ortiz numbers. Like that's not That's not a professional.
That's not good.
I don't think Matt Ryan's a future Hall of Famer, but he's in that Hall of Good, and that's just not what we've gotten used to seeing. And Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, it's going to be hard for them to succeed if that's what you're going to get from Matt Ryan. And the only mistake they may have made is drafting Kyle Pitts rather than drafting another quarterback.
I thought the Texans, I wasn't going to watch that game, and then I turned to it, and I was like, wow. And they looked pretty good. I mean, Mark Ingram looked like Mark Ingram of old. Tyrod Taylor looked pretty good. David Johnson, I mean, he caught a bunch of passes. It just felt like Danny Amendola coming out of nowhere. Brandon Cooks is still a monster. I was very surprised because the Jags, I mean, I picked the Jaguars to win this, and they, Trevor Lawrence had a day. He's a rookie. He started out throwing 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's going to happen. He'll get better, and they asked him to do a lot. He threw 51 times. So it's just, I was very surprised by this. I found myself weirdly rooting for the Texans because they've just been mired in this just funk and disarray all offseason. They were like the punchline of many of our jokes too, and they came out.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, we're still playing to win.
Yeah. In the offseason, you and I were discussing comparing the Texans against the Jaguars. And I said the only real difference between the Jaguars and the Texans is that the Jaguars had hope because they had drafted Trevor Lawrence. But like from a talent standpoint, there wasn't really a lot separating these two teams, especially after the Travis Etienne injury. And I think that we kind of saw that play out a little bit where there's not this big gap. Well, if there is a big gap, it's the Texans being better, but there's not this big gap between the Texans and the Jaguars. And Tyrod Taylor, he's not a Hall of Fame player. He's not an MVP, but he's a competent NFL quarterback who doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, I mean, you read the lineup card for the Texans, and it feels like, if this was like 2015, this team would be unbelievable. David Johnson, Danny Amendola, Brandon Cooks, Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead, Phillip Lindsay, and you're like, what? Tyrod Taylor was good for a little while, I guess, but it's crazy to see. But I was happy for them. I really was, I have to say. So all right, that's gonna do it. Chiefs over the Browns. I'll keep it short. The Chiefs, I thought the Chiefs were gonna win, but I thought that the Browns, especially after the way they lost last year, where they had the Chiefs on the ropes, and Chad Henne comes in and they lose in typical Browns fashion, where the guy, he fumbles out of the end zone, and then it's just a whole chaos. I thought the Browns were going to have a bone to pick with the Chiefs, especially in an opener. And, they could revel in being the underdog going into the Chiefs Stadium and fighting them off. And it felt like they were that close. And you're right, they didn't knock them out. And the Chiefs just came in and said, "No, kid, you're still just know your role, know where you stand, and you're not ready yet." And
if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you have to deliver a knockout blow, like the Buccaneers were able to do last year.
It's just maddening. I mean, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill they're unguardable. Goodness. They're unguardable. It's insane. But all right, so that's going to do it for our top 3 storylines of the week. Let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to go through some injuries, news, and notes. We have our extra point. We're going to just quickly run through every game in the NFL and give a little recap of what we thought. Maybe we're going to do a little rookie report card on the way and see what we thought of some of the notable rookies from the draft last season. So stick around. We're going to come right back. This is the Benchwarmerz Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow along with us on the Benchwarmers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to review us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're sick with COVID-19 or think you might have it, take steps to help protect other people from getting sick. Stay home except to get medical care. Call the doctor before visiting. Separate yourself from others who live with you. Wear a cloth face covering to protect others. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue and clean your hands right away. Avoid sharing items with other people in your home. This includes things like towels and bedding. Be sure dishes are washed in hot water or the dishwasher before anyone else uses them. Stay aware of how you feel. If you start to have difficulty breathing or if you're worried about your health, call your doctor. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
And now back to the Benchwarmers Podcast with Lou and Jose.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. I am Lou Ruggieri. That is Jose Ortiz, and this is still the Benchwarmerz Podcast. Hopefully you're following along on either iHeartRadio, Amazon, Anchor, by Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on 2 new platforms, Radio Public and Breaker.audio. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at the Benchwarmerz Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter. Please go to any of those podcasting sites, by the way, and subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate all of the feedback, good or bad, honestly. Go to thebenchwarmers.com, Benchwarmers with a Z, for all news and notes according to Jose and myself. This is season 2, episode number 20. Rolling right along, we touched on the top 3 storylines in the NFL in the last segment. The Saints getting whooped by the Saints whooping the Packers, rather. Matt Stafford shining with the Rams, and some statement wins. Pittsburgh over Buffalo, Philly over Atlanta, the Cardinals over Titans, and the Texans looking much better than expected. Coming up shortly, we're going to make our picks for week 2, and we also have to go through our Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, which is basically our true-false segment. We're going to make a series of statements, and we're each going to agree or disagree with the phrase "Make no mistake," that's absolutely correct, or "Give me a break, you're crazy." But now it's time for some injury news and notes, and Jose, you have a litany of injuries to go through. A couple notable names, I think, right? There's a few.
Yeah. Let's start with the 49ers. Raheem Mostert.
Your 49ers.
Yes, my 49ers. To be so disappointed after getting a win, but Raheem Mostert out 8 weeks, chipped knee cartilage, which sounds really painful. Chipped knee cartilage. Surprise, surprise. He's always injured, and it's just a shame. He had 2 carries for 20 yards. You see the explosiveness, you see the potential. If you could just stay on the field. But
yeah, he's a strong runner. He's a violent runner. It's a shame, but.
And then Jason Verrett, 49ers cornerback, out for the season with a torn ACL. He was basically their best corner, and now they're going to be looking to go get Richard Sherman back on the team, from what I'm reading. We have Ryan Fitzpatrick to the injured reserve, out 6 to 8 weeks with a hip injury. The Lions cornerback Jeff Okudah is out for the year, who's a second-year player. Michael Gallup of the Cowboys had a calf injury, which I didn't realize had happened when I was watching the game. He's on IR. Will miss at least 4 games.
Wow.
And Jerry Jeudy, high ankle sprain.
Yeah, that looked real bad.
Yeah, he's lucky that it's not the entire season based on the way it looked.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a specific time frame out there. From what I've been reading, it's Twitter doctors and stuff are saying it's going to be around 6 weeks.
I will say though, Raheem Mostert, I mean, it's horrible. It's bad for him, but in a Kyle Shanahan-led offense, I mean, you could run for 60 yards in a game. Elijah Mitchell, their rookie, he had 19 carries for 140 yards and a touchdown. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. The Verrett injury is definitely, I think, a lot more painful from a team success standpoint. But Fitzpatrick, I mean, I don't know what you do with Fitzpatrick. I mean, that's Taylor Heineke's there, and I'm wondering if maybe does Ron Rivera call up Cam Newton? I mean, then you have to kind of change. I don't think so either, but it just seems like who's left? They're not calling up Ben DiNucci. I think Taylor Heineke's a good quarterback. I think they just need somebody to come in as a backup for him, but.
If you were the Washington football team, you're Ron Rivera, would you be willing to trade a first-round pick for Deshaun Watson?
A single first-round pick?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it would take anymore. I feel like it can't be more than one anymore with the situation, can it?
I mean, but the problem is you don't know if he's going to play or not. I mean, he might end up on the commissioner's exempt list. He might not play, depending on the legal proceedings. I mean, he might not play ever again. I don't know. I think that's too high a gamble at the moment. I think you got to wait and see with that. But so all right. So it's news and notes for injuries. Quickly, we'll go through every game, Jose. I'm going to read off the game and the scores, and I want you to give me, and then I will give you in return, a very brief synopsis of what you thought and what your takeaways were, what the main takeaways were from each one of these games. So let's start Thursday with my Dallas Cowboys in a moral victory, or a moral loss, I guess. Or it'd be moral victory, right? That's kind of That's a loss that's disguised as a win, or vice versa. Losing, anyway, they lost to the Buccaneers, 31-29.
the two thoughts of Tampa Bay's offense and Dallas's defense picking up right where they left off, and at least Dak's healthy.
Yeah, I will say that Dak Prescott looked better than advertised, and that I think DeMarcus Lawrence should give back his paycheck. I think they touched Brady twice, and Zeke, you have to show up, man. What are you doing? Come on.
There was one play in particular where I don't know exactly what point it was in the game where basically it's Zeke, one defender, and then the end zone. And you're a $90 million, you're one of the big, highest paid running backs in the NFL. You've got to make the cornerback miss. Alvin Kamara gets in the end zone there. Christian McCaffrey gets in the end zone there. Dalvin Cook gets in the end zone there. Zeke has to get in the end zone there. And to get stopped like that by a corner did not look promising.
He had 11 carries for 33 yards. And
terrible.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a professional NFL running back or anything, but I think that if you're a ball carrier, you should not run directly into Jason Pierre-Paul or Ndamukong Suh. I don't know. That would be my thought, but what do I know? All right. Eagles winning 32-6 over the Atlanta Falcons.
Is this the end for Matt Ryan? And when we said it, is this the end for Matt Ryan and the beginning for Jalen Hurts? Because these two teams look like they're going in opposite directions.
Yeah, I mean, my two takeaways, I thought Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, I mean, they look like the real deal. That was impressive. And the Falcons, did you knock it off? They couldn't even get off the plane because they were at home.
The Falcons need to trade Matt Ryan last year. I wonder if that's over now.
Trade him this year. Send him to Washington. There you go.
What are you getting for him now after that?
What does it matter?
I guess that's true.
Take Ryan Fitzpatrick with one hip bone. I don't know. So, yeah, the Falcons you got to show up next game. Pittsburgh Steelers in a shocker over the Buffalo Bills, 23-16.
So my main question coming out of this game is: will Pittsburgh's offense be good enough to get this championship defense over the hump? The score kind of betrays what really happened there. There was a huge special teams play. The blocked punt turned into a touchdown. That kind of changed the game there. Pittsburgh really didn't look good on offense. Buffalo didn't look good enough on offense either. But I worry if Pittsburgh's offense is going to end up keep letting their defense down.
Yeah, I thought that the Steelers defense is legit. And if that offense can get clicking, they have the pieces. I mean, Najee Harris didn't look great. Chase Claypool kind of so-so. They need to get their act together on offense, and Ben needs to just leave it all on the field for one more year. And the Bills, I couldn't help but wonder. I mean, again, it's week 1, so it's overreaction Monday, but maybe there's a little too much hype after last season. A little too much. They just seem like they were exposed a little bit, and their offense, while good, still needs a bit more from the run game to kind of balance out that pretty good passing game.
And you and I have been off of the Bills kind of this entire post off. So not saying off like we didn't think that they were going to be bad, but neither of us had them going to the Super Bowl or
because they're very. It seemed like they were very one-dimensional after last year. They're pass first, and you can't. If Josh Allen is your leading rusher, that's not a recipe for continued success, especially in a newly 17-game season. It's not going to last. You can't do it.
We've seen this play out before.
Yeah, I mean, look, Andrew Luck. How many times? It's the same thing. The Vikings losing a crushing overtime game to the Cincinnati Bengals, 27-24 Bengals.
Is it possible that the Cincinnati Bengals is a year ahead of schedule? Based on what I saw out there, Joe Burrow looked good. Joe Mixon, oh my goodness, just finally getting some carries out there. Jamar Chase with the long touchdown. I mean, they looked like a really good offense out there.
Yeah, I thought that, the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase reminded me a lot of the Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, that college chemistry showing up big time. And that's sort of felt like what you're talking about. It pushed them ahead a year because they have that rapport with each other already, and they don't have to build it. And I owe Joe Mixon an apology. He looked really good. I did not think that he was going to look good at all, and I was wrong. The Vikings, I don't know what to say about the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I mean, he played well enough. 351 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. That's good. It's just, and they have all the offensive pieces. Justin Jefferson's there. Adam Thielen's there. Dalvin Cook's there. I mean, I don't know what's missing. I don't know what it is.
It's the big plays that are missing. But
they have big time players. I mean,
they have big time players, but they're not.
Justin Jefferson. I mean,
what I'm saying is that Kirk Cousins. What I've realized about Kirk Cousins is that he's a good player, but he doesn't really throw the ball down the field. Like the things that Tom Brady, and I don't want to compare them to Tom Brady or anything, but it's kind of hard not to. We'll get like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or even Russell Wilson. They stretch the field so much, and it's just like you can be stopping them for a while, and then eventually they just break through. And it doesn't feel like you have to worry about that with Kirk Cousins. He's throwing short passes to his receivers and hoping that they do the rest of the work.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is the vanilla of quarterbacks. It's not
very
it's not
similar
exciting.
to Baker Mayfield. Very, very similar to Baker Mayfield. Very safe, short throws. If you're in a positive game script, it looks great. But when you're pressed and you have to score, it's tough to go 15 plays, 80 yards every time.
Yep, it's true. Your San Francisco 49ers in a much more exciting game than anticipated win over the Lions, 41-33. How'd you feel about that one?
A win's a win, but San Francisco has to play better if they want to compete in the NFC West. You can't let the Lions come back in that game. So completely unacceptable.
I mean, their defense needs to step up a little bit. I was happy for Jared Goff because I think everyone kind of just decided that this was the end of his career going into Detroit. And maybe with a new coaching staff, I mean, they looked, there was promise there. And I thought the Niners, it was a win they should have had. And I thought that they would score probably about 41 points like they did. I thought they wouldn't have given up quite so many points, but maybe the Lions are better than we think.
I think the 49ers also at one point just they were up 38-10 or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was just
cruise
like
control.
Yeah, let's just take our foot off the gas, and all of a sudden the Lions kind of put up some points. And I was like, oh wait, this is the game again. So
yeah, the Lions scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, and then by then the Niners were kind of just put in cruise control. The Cardinals just putting a beat down on the Tennessee Titans, 38-13.
Not really. The Cardinals could be scary good, and the Titans may be the most overrated team in the NFL. We were just talking about it. They just look completely polar opposite. I don't want to overreact to week 1, but Titans don't look very promising.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the Titans, I questioned Titans' offensive line, which is not a good thing for Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry or Julio Jones or AJ Green or AJ Brown, sorry. But the Cardinals, the most impressive player wasn't an offensive player. I mean, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks. That's a career day. And, as good as Kyler Murray looked, I mean, it was the defense that just put them over the top and it just stifled the Titans.
Well, and I think that's what makes it scary is that it was really a complete team thing. And, a lot of times, your offense will just, we saw the Buccaneers and we saw the Kansas City Chiefs earlier last week. The Buccaneers, their offense took over. It wasn't a complete performance. When you look at the Rams, you look at what the Rams did, and you look at what the Cardinals did. Complete team performance.
Yep, agreed. The Seahawks beating the Indianapolis Colts 28-16 in Indy.
My thought the whole time is let's not forget about Seattle in the NFC. Let's just, they've been there. They've kind of been like the main one of the mainstays of the last 8 years. As far as being in contention, but kind of easy to forget about them. And does anyone have a better looking deep ball than Russell Wilson?
No, I don't think so.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it's just drop in a bucket. I think that Justin Herbert has got he's got some competition, but he's not quite there yet. But it was pretty good. I thought that the Seahawks looked phenomenal. I was more disappointed in the Colts. I thought the Colts really needed to come out and kind of put some points on the board because they should have a pretty complete team from top to bottom, and the Seahawks just were too much on both sides of the ball for them.
I think we may be overestimating the Colts offense, but just go ahead and go there.
Yeah, I mean, T.Y. Hilton's not there, so yeah, Michael Pittman is there. Paris Campbell's there. It's tough to I mean, they have a good offensive line, great offensive line, and Carson Wentz, I mean, maybe he's still getting used to the new digs, but I expected more out of them in this game. Speaking of Justin Herbert, the Chargers winning a last minute game against the Washington football team, 20-16.
I expect the Chargers to contend for the playoffs this year because that offense looks scary, and they're just going to keep getting better. Austin Eckler didn't even get started in this game. They're finally targeting Mike Williams. This offense, the sky is the limit for this offense.
Yeah, I thought Justin Herbert is incredible. I think I am such a big Justin Herbert fan. He just looks great. He's so accurate. He's got a great arm. He makes good decisions. He's progressing. It's his second year, so we'll see how he does. But overall, I mean, that team is on the up and up, and I hope that I'm very curious to see what his career ends up being towards the end. Washington, on the other hand, Fitzpatrick goes down. I think it might end up being a blessing in disguise, even though you kind of lose the, MVP caliber performance that Ryan Fitzpatrick always puts up in September, only to be the exact opposite, Jekyll and Hyde, in October. But like I said before, Taylor Heineke, I think, is a good quarterback, and I think he can run this offense. He's mobile, he's quick, he's got a strong enough arm, and they have some playmakers on both sides of the ball. So I wouldn't count Washington out just yet.
Agreed.
The New York Jets losing, and actually a closer game than I expected, to the Panthers, 19-14.
Zach Wilson looked okay, but it's going to be a long season for New York if they can't protect him. He was sacked 6 times in this game. And look, Carolina, they're going to be better than people expected. You and I both have them picked to finish second in the division, although as good as the Saints looked, I'm not sure of how smart of a pick that was. But still, we both expect them to be improved this year. So not surprised at all from what I saw from Carolina.
Happy the Sam Darnold revenge game came to fruition. That was good to see. I think the Jets are still the Jets. They have some, Robert Saleh's got a tough challenge ahead of him, but I think Zach Wilson is going to be if they can build around him a little better, they're going to be okay. And it was just nice to see Christian McCaffrey out there doing what Christian McCaffrey does and just being back on the field because he's an exciting player to watch. The Jaguars losing 21-37 to your Houston Texans. Shocker of the week.
Yeah. Listen, it's just time to give the Tyrod Taylor and the Texans a little bit more respect, and then maybe the Jaguars are just. Listen, I think we forgot that Urban Meyer is also in his first year in the NFL, and this is not college, so maybe he needs to. He has a transition period that he's got to go through as well.
Yeah, I thought the Jaguars looked like a bunch of rookie team. They look like a bunch of rookies on a team, including the coach. And the Texans, I mean, they looked like a 2016 Pro Bowl team. It was crazy. In a lot of names that you just mishmashed of misfit toys, and they came out and had something to prove, and they proved it. So good for them. I was happy to see it. The Browns, we touched on this earlier. Browns losing 29-33 to the Chiefs. I mean, I'll tell you, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are unstoppable.
My takeaway is that the Browns need to learn how to close games, and it's just really that simple. You got to learn how to close games. And the Kansas City didn't do anything that surprised me.
Yeah. The Dolphins squeaking out a victory against the Patriots, 17-16.
Yeah, I expected New England to blow out Miami, and it didn't happen that way. And it just makes me wonder if maybe I've just been sleeping on the Dolphins a bit too much this offseason, and then I need to kind of open my eyes and take a look at them.
I thought that the Patriots, as we've seen in the past, Patriots, September is almost like their preseason sometimes. And Mac Jones, the first rookie quarterback that Bill Belichick has started since the Patriots have started since Drew Bledsoe back in whatever that was, 92 or 93, I think. So there's some growing pains there. Damian Harris looked good except for the fumble at the end, and that kind of hurt. But overall, I thought the Patriots look like they're going to be fine. Let's see where they are. Let's see where these two teams are a month from now.
Absolutely.
The Saints just routing the Packers. I mean, there's not too much more to say about this. Jameis Winston throws for 5 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers throws for 2 interceptions. I feel like the Packers just didn't show up, and Aaron Rodgers looked very old to me.
It's just a good thing the Packers are playing Detroit next week, and we'll see. Let's see what we're saying about Packers next week. If we see a repeat of this, then we need to be very afraid.
Broncos putting a kind of a beatdown on the New York Giants in MetLife Stadium, 27-13.
Yeah, I keep waiting for the Giants to be good on offense, and I don't. When am I going to stop expecting them to be good? Like, I just have to stop expecting them. They have talent on offense, at least I think they do, but it hasn't seemed to show up in recent years. So, just going to have to wait and see. Very disappointed in the Giants' performance.
Yeah, I thought Teddy Bridgewater played well. Melvin Gordon looked really good, and the Giants, they're just nondescript. It's just bland, nothing. And Daniel Jones outrushed Saquon Barkley. Like, Saquon, what are you doing, man? Come on. And that receiving core should be good. I mean, Evan Ingram can't catch balls from the bench because he's hurt constantly, but Sterling Shepard was there. Darius Slayton was there. Kenny Golladay was there. Kyle Rudolph was in the game, and they just couldn't do anything. And I don't know what they're boring. They just don't look like they're ready to play offensive football.
Yeah.
Finally, the Bears losing convincingly to the Rams, 34-14.
The Rams are look like the most complete team in the NFL, and I'm very happy with my pick of them going to the Super Bowl and winning this year. Not that I'm happy the 49ers won't win, but happy that I'm looking good in Week 1.
Yeah, I mean, the two things I took away from this are just that the Bears need to do some work with their offensive line, and Justin Fields needs to start playing because Andy Dalton is he's not even a Band-Aid at this point. He's just a speed bump. And the Rams, Matt Stafford for MVP.
Ooh, yes.
I hope
Let's start the campaign. I like that.
I think it's already out there. I've seen it in a couple places. But
okay.
Matt Stafford, I hope that he really has a great season because he's earned it after having 12 or 13 years in Detroit.
Absolutely.
So that is the extra point. Every game, recap of the game, and some thoughts. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to play Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, which is our true-false game. And there's a lot of statements we're going to make. Not a lot, but maybe about 3 each. And we'll see how we feel about that. And then we have some picks to make for week 2 because we're already on the clock. So a lot to get to still. This is the Benchwarmers Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow along with us on the Benchwarmers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to review us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're sick with COVID-19 or think you might have it, take steps to help protect other people from getting sick. Stay home except to get medical care. Call the doctor before visiting. Separate yourself from others who live with you. Wear a cloth face covering to protect others. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue and clean your hands right away. Avoid sharing items with other people in your home. This includes things like towels and bedding. Be sure dishes are washed in hot water or the dishwasher before anyone else uses them. Stay aware of how you feel. If you start to have difficulty breathing or if you're worried about your health, call your doctor. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. I am Lou Ruggieri. That is Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow us along, iHeartRadio Podcasting, Amazon, Anchor, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there. We're on several platforms and growing. Please go rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. TheBenchwarmers.com, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at the Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter. This is Season 2, Episode 20. We're moving right along. Top 3 storylines from the NFL Week 1. We touched on some injury news and notes. The Extra Point is our segment where we go through each and every game and kind of give a brief synopsis on all of those. And you can go find that and more on all of the aforementioned platforms and apps. But now it is time to play Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. This is our it's turning into an annual football thing. I think this is it's a fun game to play. It's we're not really a hot takey kind of show, but this is sort of an overreaction, true false bit, I'll say it, or segment, I guess you could call it. So we're going to make some statements. Jose, I will make a statement, and I'd like you to say whether it's make no mistake, that's absolutely correct, or give me a break, that's crazy.
All right.
And we can kind of alternate if you'd like, but I'd like to jump out. We have our week 2 picks actually right after this as well. So we still have a lot to get to here. So make no mistake or give me a break. Number 1, the Green Bay Packers will miss the playoffs.
I'm going to say give me a break. I don't want to go crazy overreacting. I think every team in that division lost as well yesterday, so they're basically right where they left, right where they started in week 1. So I'm going to say give me a break. They'll make the playoffs.
I would agree. I think that just by virtue of being in a very bad division, they're going to be fine.
All right. I have the Texans are not the worst team in the NFL.
Well, I guess it depends on how you define that. I guess you have to say make no mistake at this point. I mean, it's hard to argue with a 37 performance right now. I guess you could say that the Jaguars are the worst team in the league. So
I actually think that the Lions are the worst team in the league, but I just remember last year the Jaguars. Remember they opened the season with a win. I believe it was over the Vikings actually, and then they went on to lose 15 straight games after that. So, just goes to show you could overreact to week 1. But I'm going to say, make no mistake, they are not the worst team in the NFL.
Shocking. After 1 week. Crazy.
Yep.
All right. Make no mistake or give me a break. Number 2. Justin Fields will start for the Chicago Bears in week 2.
Give me a break. While I wish that were the case, because I don't like watching bad offensive football, I think that Matt Nagy feels a certain sense of, I don't know, integrity pulling at him where he promised Andy Dalton a spot. And, I wouldn't say that Andy Dalton looked terrible in the game yesterday. Just, the offense really had no punch and no explosiveness. Maybe Justin Fields can give him that, but I think he's going to probably another week or 2, and then we'll see Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think it's close, but I think it's a give me a break. I think he will start soon. I just don't think it will be that soon, even though they're home to Cincinnati starting next week. So that's a good time to do it. But I think, Andy Dalton will get one more swing at things.
How about the Titans will miss the postseason?
Man, that's a good one. I have to look at their schedule. I'm going to say give me a break right now. I think the Cardinals are just better than we expected, and I think the Titans, they have enough pieces on offense that they can make a run, especially in a very weak division. I'm going to say give me a break.
Yeah, I'm going to say give me a break as well. I feel like if we ask this question again next week and they're 0-2, we might start to get worried, but one bad week doesn't make a whole season. The Colts didn't look great either. Give me a break. The Titans will make the postseason. They'll win the division, make the playoffs, and then lose in the first round.
And finally, the Dolphins will win the AFC East. They beat the Patriots. The Bills lost. The Jets.
Yeah, the Dolphins are in first place right now. I'm still going to say give me a break. But let's be serious here. The Bills are going to get this thing turned around, and they're going to win the division. Just one game.
I agree. I think the Patriots, after September, I think they'll start turning it on and really kind of opening up the playbook for Mac Jones. So I think the Dolphins they should enjoy this lead while they have it. So, all right.
Okay. Yep.
That's it, right? So it's time for week 2 picks. We have to make we were not good last week.
No.
We were really not good last week. A lot of surprise, and it is week 1, so week 1 is always a little surprising every year. Not that that's a great excuse, but we have to own it. We were not good. We'll try to be better this week. I lost our put your money where your mouth is, our money bet. That one went up in smoke. Good thing I didn't put too much money on the Buccaneers to cover.
Your Cowboys hatred and love affair. Your hate-love affair with the Cowboys.
That's what the Cowboys do. That's what they do. That's why I hate them so much, is because they do things like that where when you count them out and you give them zero chance, all of a sudden they show up and show you what they can do and the potential that they have. And they could have and should have probably won that game. They had 4 turnovers. And I know it's old news by now, but you give Brady a minute left, and how many times do we have to see that song and dance? It's incredibly frustrating. And every time I think that the Cowboys are going to zig, they zag, and vice versa.
Well, I was even more further off than you. I had the Giants +3, at home against the Broncos, and they could have been plus 10 and still would have lost. So
yeah,
that was a bad
good
pick
bet too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, either way, this week I'm rolling with the Rams minus 4.5 at the Colts. Give me the Rams, and I'll give the points and take the Rams.
So Rams giving 4.5.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty good. I've been kind of bouncing around between two different ones. I don't want to be a victim of week one, but I think I'm going to go with the Houston Texans plus 12.5. Against the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry. I should mention that. Yeah, they're at Cleveland. They're getting almost 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a huge line. And while the Browns are unbelievable, I mean, the Texans showed something that if they can keep that rolling, I mean, I don't think they're going to win, but they could at least keep it close. Maybe. Yeah, give me the Texans plus 12. I'll take 12. I'm getting 12.5 points.
I looked at that one I stared really hard at that for a while, and I couldn't pull the trigger in either direction because I wasn't sure what we saw from the Texans had to do with how bad the Jaguars are, or if Cleveland's is going to come home mad that they basically gave a game away.
The other one I was thinking of was the Patriots are giving 5.5 to the Jets at the Jets, but that's division game. It's tough. Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough one, but
all right. So
all of these are DraftKings Sportsbook, by the way. We're getting all these spreads.
So you've got the Texans plus 12.5. I've got the Rams minus 4.5. All right.
And as far as our weekly picks, we also did pretty pathetically.
It was pretty bad. We were both 6-9.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Not including Monday Night Football, which is ongoing and it's looking okay right now for us. But yeah, either way, 6-9. Let's just go ahead and get into our week 2 picks.
Yep.
New York Giants at Washington Football Team.
And these are straight up, no points.
Yep.
I'll give me, I know Fitzpatrick went down, but give me Washington. I just don't trust the Giants.
I've got Washington too. I'm done with the Giants until they show me something. Las Vegas Raiders at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yep. Pittsburgh.
Defense is unstoppable.
Easy pick there. This is an interesting one. 49ers at Eagles.
That's a sneaky good game. They're at Philly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Niners. I think the Niners are the better team.
I've got 49ers as well. Same exact reason. I'm not sure what the score is going to be or if they're going to cover any spread, but I think the 49ers get the win here. Texans at Browns. I'm taking the Browns.
Yeah, you have to take the Browns.
Broncos at Jaguars.
Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, how do you not the Jaguars look like the worst team now. I'm not sure if it's the Jaguars or the Lions, but yeah, you have to take the Broncos here. Here's an interesting one. Saints at Panthers.
It's a division game, so you never know. I'm gonna go with the Saints. Maybe just riding recency bias, but I think that the Saints look good.
It's hard to ignore that performance that we just saw against a team that we thought was supposed to be good. So yeah, give me the Saints over a team that barely beat the Jets. Rams at Colts.
Another sneaky good game. I'm going to take the Rams just because I think Aaron Donald disrupts Carson Wentz enough to kind of throw them off their balance. And the Rams look good. Stafford's the real deal.
I know I already took the Rams. I just feel like the Rams are going to destroy the Colts. I think the Colts are basically just a different version of the Bears, and we saw what they did to the Bears. So yeah, give me the Rams. Bills at Dolphins.
I'll go Bills. I think they'll have a get right game, division rival, and they're gonna have something to prove.
We're agreeing with everything right now so far, but I'm gonna stick with the Bills. I'm not gonna make my difference be here. I'm gonna go with the Bills. They're angry and they're gonna show it. Patriots at Jets.
Patriots. I mean, the Jets defensive line looks pretty good. They have some. Elijah Moore looks pretty good. Zach Wilson looks solid, but the Patriots are better.
They're going to sack him like 8 times. Like they can't protect it. If you're going against a defensive team, you're going to lose.
And Belichick generally against rookie quarterbacks has an amazing record.
Bengals at Bears.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you here, I took the Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals here. I think what we saw was just we're seeing a team that's leveled up offensively.
Yeah, I can't bet on Andy Dalton. I can't do it. So give me the Bengals. I think the Bears defense is great, but I think they're just going to be put in bad position after bad position. Give me the Bengals.
We're going to have to find a way to disagree somewhere along here.
It's a long season.
Falcons at Buccaneers. This is not the game. I'm taking the Bucs.
Yeah.
Vikings at Cardinals.
How do you not go with the Cardinals after that?
Yeah. It's kind of, I feel like there's a lot of games that are just, I mean, we'll see how things shake out, but it feels like there's a lot of games with obvious choices this week.
Which means that there's going to be some serious upsets.
So we both have the Cardinals. Titans at Seahawks.
I mean, it's got to be Seahawks, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're at home. Like, how could you pick the Titans? It makes okay. Here's the game where.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans won that game, though. I wouldn't. I mean, if they can get on if they can play their game, they can beat the Seahawks. If they keep Russell Wilson off the field, they can win. But I just don't think it's very likely.
Yeah. All right. How about Cowboys at Chargers? Chargers, all right.
Chargers, yeah.
I've got the Chargers, especially they're at home. I probably would pick the Chargers either way, but Chargers at home definitely. Sunday Night Football. Chiefs at Ravens.
Chiefs, easily.
Yeah, I have the Chiefs as well. Like I initially put the Ravens down, and then I started like doing it in my head. Like, why would I pick the Ravens? No, the Chiefs are better. All right, well, it looks like we're gonna completely agree with everything here. Lions at Packers, Monday Night Football. Obviously. Obviously.
The Lions put up 10 times as many points as the Packers, 11 times as many points as the Packers did week 1. Man. I can't do it. I want to pick I really want to pick the Lions, but I can't. It's prime time. Aaron Rodgers. You can't bet against him. I'm sticking with the Packers. I'm not going to be cute.
You know what? I'm literally searching for a game to pick that would be different. I know I'm. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to kick myself faster because I don't want to have the same. I'm switching my Bills pick to the Dolphins.
Okay.
Taking the Dolphins to win at home against the Bills. That's going to be my switch. Everything else, everything else would be too brave for me. That's like that's the least courageous switch I can make.
And it's safe. It's a division game, so anything can happen.
And
really.
They're at home. Yeah. So, all right.
I mean, I do think I was contemplating the Washington Giants game. I think that could go either way very easily, but the Washington defensive line is a nightmare, and Daniel Jones is prone, as we've seen, to just turn over the football. So honestly, that's not a good combination. And honestly, Cowboys at Chargers could go the other way. Chiefs at Ravens. Would it even really be that surprising if the Ravens show up and win the game? Like, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Give me the Cowboys. Oh. Give me the Cowboys. Oh. I felt a little queasy about that one because my bias against the Cowboys is there. But I think... Man, if the Cowboys lose, they better send you some sort of gift or something in the mail to keep you as a fan because you're going to be on the warpath if they... I mean, I may have just cursed them by saying I picked them to win. That's usually how this works. So maybe I should switch back. No, I'm going to stick to it. I think the Cowboys should win that game. Okay. So there we go. Now we have some differences. Okay. I'm going to regret that. Okay. No, they can win. It's okay. All right, that's going to do it. This has been Season 2, Episode 20. For the last time, this show, you can go and follow and listen to all of our previous shows, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, Anchor, Radio Public, Breaker.audio, all social media at the Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or go to thebenchwarmers.com. So happy football is back, and we're going to look forward to talking some Week 2 next week. So that's going to do it. For Jose Ortiz, I am Lou Ruggieri, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.